Gods and goddesses in training, welcome back to the channel. It's Uncle Makara. Today we're talking all about inner game, okay? If you've never heard of inner game, this was a concept first used by tennis coaches back in the day, where they used to believe that your internal world affects your external performance, okay? And nowadays we use it in the context of social dynamics. Now, you guys see right here, I got the Ring of Solomon for all the archangels, so I'm very, very excited today. And it's a newfound energy because last night I channeled the Nagaraja himself, okay? He is the embodiment of all the Ashtanagas, the 8 Nagas, and is very, very powerful to get these ancient teachings. One of the things that I remember him saying is, wherever you stumble, that is where the treasure is. And I thought that was a very beautiful reminder to start this video off today. I'm a peak performance coach. I'm a positive psychologist. I help individuals in tapping in, okay? If you've ever heard that term, tapping in, getting into the zone, accessing the state of flow. I'm very, very fascinated by different altered states of consciousness and being able to apply it directly into our lives in a more modern, shamanistic, practical sense. And the first thing that I'd highly recommend is you start off with a meditation practice. Now, if you don't know where to look for this, we have an Adepts program, a 6-minute meditation practice that is going to raise your vibration for the next 6 hours. So if you do it in the morning, the next 6 hours are gonna be very smooth, okay? I'm not gonna share too much about the threefold formula here. However, it's been constructed to tap you into these different higher states of being. So when you're first beginning this type of practice, you might get very confused. It's okay to start off with an app at first if you're just testing the waters out or joining a specific program online and so forth, like Headspace or, one of these meditation apps. But ultimately, you'll come to this point where you just simply enjoy meditating throughout the day by enjoying the silence of the universe, and enjoying your own presence and own company, okay? And I think this is really where that inner game starts to sit well with you, because it's like you have more storage space in your brain. If you have too many things going on in your head, you're being overstimulated, you won't feel that sense of calm, that inner game that you really need in order to crush it. One of the most powerful things that I would recommend each of you to try is something called biofeedback, okay? Which is you're consciously thinking about an active visualization or meditation in your mind by simply closing your eyes. As you close your eyes, you get into an alpha waves state, brainwave state, okay? And you just imagine what is the happiest moment of your life. And if it hasn't happened yet, you can imagine scenario as if it has happened, and enter these what I'd like to call parallel realities through you maybe running through an open field, or going on vacation somewhere, or being surrounded by friends and family, different things like this, where you imagine. I oftentimes like to imagine the people that I need to reconcile with or forgive, or I have some kind of animosity against. I imagine like a halo over their heads, and I humanize them, but then I also raise them up to a divine status or a God status, right? So when I see them as a divine being, it creates less friction between me and them, and I understand the more personal something is, the more universal something is. It's not about my ego here, it's about the experience. So I've tried it both ways, right, guys? Like, I've tried going very much into the outer game, or let's just say the techniques of performance, right? The very practical techniques, but then there was also the inner game, and I went to one side and then I went to the other side. It was only when I combined both and I understood that yes, it's a combination of a lot of factors, right? Competence, mindset, frame control, results, state control. Well, state control actually being state acceptance, okay? Not the fact that you have to control it, but letting it flow, right? Understanding where your values are in regards to health, wealth, relationships, and understanding that spirituality is like a glue that holds all of them together. Looking at this thing holistically will always help you over not looking at this holistically, okay? Also, you got to know your red flags, green flags when it comes down to relationships, when it comes down to wealth, when it comes down to your health, and so forth, okay? Sometimes I would give myself social pressure challenges, like, on a very high note, I'm gonna leave that particular interaction to interact with somebody else in the same venue, right? And what this does is it's almost like you're hopping the vibration, right? You're keeping the resonance of you left on a high note behind, and you're going somewhere else and spreading that vibe. It's like a vibe transference, right, in a sense. Now, what I understood from Nagaraj is we all have this kind of connection to the Nagas, right? And we, of course, have a reptilian part of our brain, which is this ancient wiring at the base of our brains. And what does that control, guys? Your blood glucose, your temperature, how your body sweats or shivers, things like this. So, and that is controlled through the imageries in your mind, okay? So like I was saying, the biofeedback method, where you're imagining something very positive, that imagery is positive in your mind, right? So if you're getting very negative, dark imageries, intrusive thinking, you want to practice superimposing, okay? Superimposing positive memories through that dark visual, okay? So let's just say that you envision somebody, really being in a bad state, right? They're hurt. You superimpose the positive imagery on top of that, like their body is starting to heal and you're sending them compassion, right? So that's how I want you to use this visualization for this inner game. If you're feeling hungry all the time, you're gonna make weird moral judgments of others. You're gonna get crankier, more harsh towards, opinions and so forth. But it's all based on how well you've eaten, right? You've heard of the term hangry, right? So that's the thing, like, our body is doing these things in autopilot at times, and it's just we're working with this very ancient wiring. So us going on stage, it doesn't make sense that we're gonna get a panic, but back in the day, that would mean if the tribe doesn't like us or we're a threat to the tribe, then we feel this immediate death fear, right? Watch the video on the fear of death I did a couple days ago. So one of the things that I've understood on this spiritual path, I'm also very, very invested in understanding this, is the fact that we are these electromagnetic beings, okay? Think of the pineal gland being the electrical and the pituitary being the magnetic, okay? And this is why we see halos around these ancient masters' heads, because think about it, it's very close to the brain, right? And it's through this area that's the portal to the veil on the other side, and the veil is thinning as these solar flares. I don't know if you guys know about the solar flares, right? I'm feeling like these woozy, strange sensations of like little time warps or little glitchy moments where I feel clumsy or like I'm kind of readjusting to my brain cells again, right? I don't know if you guys are experiencing this, but sometimes I'm also experiencing the deep stillness that comes from, like, for instance, just the sun shining on me right now. But yeah, also a lot of the channeled deities and beings have spoken about the solar flares and what the impact might be from their own perspectives. So it's always a good idea to look into what this means, not just for the collective, but also what it means to one's own personal spiritual journey, because you have a personal connection with God. I'm sure you do, right? You have some kind of an idea of what that is. I love Louis Pasteur because he was like, when you do too little science, you go away from God. When you do too much science, you actually get close to God, right? And I really agree with that, because as a kind of mystic scientist, as I've begun to explore these different things, it's gotten me closer to, these hidden divine codes, these fractal understandings of nature and so forth. I've been chosen to teach a very, very unique form of charisma yoga, which is called Vajra Dragon Yoga. Now, if you're just hearing about this for the first time, the people who join the Adepts program will get access to this course for free. Okay, and when you start doing this, you will notice like these little thoughts in your head, coming up, because you will have that energy flow through you much more readily. Like, if you have ideas like, does she like me? Is this gonna work for me? I don't know if this project is gonna ultimately succeed. If you're getting this self-doubt, creep in, oftentimes it's a result of stuck or blocked energy patterns, right? That you can't even see and you can't even access. So once you start to access it and you clear up the emotional gunk from past memories and so forth, you start getting this fluidity, this ease with which you speak, with which you act, and with which you think. Okay, the thinking creates the emotions, the emotion creates the action creates more thinking. So that's the cycle. So the outer game techniques creates a funnel, right? And that funnel is like a filter, right? A filtration device. And that filter is the inner game. It's the beliefs about yourself, about the world, and about the universe, right? So start by just exploring and ask yourself very deep, inquisitive questions. That's how you'll get really close towards your self-actualization and an amplification of your inner game. So number one, what makes you you? We had a question last night, which was very powerful. If joy was the national currency, what would you do to make you rich? And there's also a very powerful positive psychology intervention called the best possible self. Now, this is where you imagine like your perfect life or your perfect day even, okay? So if you go through a process of just envisioning your best day ever, it's actually going to activate your days and journey quite differently. We've been taught in culture to rely on external happiness, right? It's like you take this pill, you get better, you feel good, right? Inner game isn't necessarily just feeling good, it's also performing well, right? It's also engaging with some of these maybe hidden shadows that you haven't confronted yet, right? So if you have this understanding that happiness awaits me every time that I, take some drugs, or I eat some fast food, or I'm binge watching some same show on Netflix again and again, yes, you get this kind of short-term happiness, this dopamine, this hedonic feeling of pleasure, but you don't get that meaningfulness and that sense of purpose, right? And that doesn't mean you constantly have to search for a purpose either. It means that you have to understand that you are the purpose, okay? You have to get back into your childlike curiosity again in order for you to become passionate, in order for you to tap into your purpose. Here, we understand that it's more so about the eudaimonic happiness, or the long-term happiness, and not this instant gratification that we're all seeking. Okay, that's where that long-term, like you're building something, right? Imagine building a legacy or a business or a family, right? It takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort. However, at the same time, you feel this greater glory that comes from that, because you're actually, investing something into it, and it's not this quick thing that happens. Now, I have noticed as I put in more impact into my spiritual path working, things do get a little bit smoother, and I do follow my path of least resistance, because I understand, yes, this makes me profit, but I'm also feeling a deep sense of joy and passion on what I'm doing. And at the same time, I'm creating an impact, right? I'm changing lives. And so this kind of trifecta will really get your inner game looking good, feeling sharp, looks, money, status, all of that, right? It starts to impact it on a whole different level, because once your inner world is sort of the external world will also slowly start to merge with that. Now, if you only solely focus on the inner and not the outer, then it's going to be a problem too. So we need that blend, right? The technique that causes the filter. What is the filter? Understanding your limiting beliefs is going to be a very powerful understanding to this, and then changing those around so that you can avatar hop, in a sense, okay? Timeline jump. If you want more advice on this, or you're more inquisitive about our free events, we have a channeling every single Monday, just like I did last night, and we have a podcast every Wednesday. So if you are interested and you want to know more about Primal Sutra, let me know, and I'm gonna set you up, okay? I'm gonna hook you up with something epic. So let's get it. If you want the recording to the Nagaraja recording as well, and you want to learn more about this, hey, you might get lucky, okay? Just shoot me a message, get into contact with me, and may your life never be the same again. Os. Let's get it. Ether gang, okay? Let's go, Os.